in our youth by a high quality educational system, a challenging educational system at all levels, and our ability to retain them within our shores, but by providing them with an enabling environment and opportunities to serve our land rather than migrating to apparently greener pastures elsewhere. Pakistan has about 160 or 170 million population, of which some 54 or 55% are below the age of 19. This is a huge resource for progress. It's a huge challenge as well, and it can be a huge burden if we don't utilize this potential for our development. So the planners, the educators in this country need to tap into this real wealth. And so I think that there are 4 key pillars which must be put in place before a country can develop. The first pillar is education. And here I'm not talking about higher education, I'm talking about education at all levels. Quality education at primary, secondary, technical, and higher education, so that you can prepare the knowledge workers for tomorrow in this knowledge-driven world. If we want to transition from our low value-added agricultural economy to a knowledge economy, then you have to have highly qualified knowledge workers at all levels, be it in the workshops or the industries in agriculture, or be it at the higher level in research institutes and in top quality science and technology institutions. So the first pillar is education. As was mentioned, Pakistan has been spending a dismal amount on education. The expenditure last year, and I'm not talking about allocations, I'm talking about actual expenditure, and these are figures from the Ministry of Finance, was only 1.3% of our GDP. The allocation was a little over 2%. This is well below what sub-Saharan African countries spend on education in terms of percentage of their GDP. And as was also pointed out, Malaysia is spending 23% of its budget on education for the last 25-30 years, and the results are before you. So the realization of the key role of education. So education is, in my mind, the first pillar to unleash the creative potential of our youth. The second pillar is science and technology. And in this science-driven world, in this knowledge-driven world, as I said, every day brings new discoveries. And truth is indeed stranger than fiction. For instance, the blind, completely blind, can today partially see with their tongue. A device has been invented which looks like a mobile telephone. They wear a little camera on their glasses, and this converts the optical signals are then converted into electrical signals through this device in their pocket, and they have a cigarette-looking device in their mouth which looks like a lollipop, and this transfers these electrical signals to the brain. And so a completely blind person can today see partially, distinguish between a knife and a fork, and see the lift buttons with their tongue. Completely paralyzed people who can't even move their fingers can now move wheelchairs by thought control. They think, I want to move my wheelchair in the right direction, and it moves to the right. I want to move my wheelchair to the left, and it moves to the left. All they do is wear a special skull cap on their head which senses the encephalographic signals, and they can control wheelchairs just by thought control. There are aeroplanes flying without fuel, And I'm not talking about the solar cells, which you have been reading a lot in the newspapers alone. If you go at 5 times the speed of sound, Mach 5, you can capture the oxygen in the stratosphere and use that for fuel. And I could go on the field of biotechnology, how it has transformed both agriculture and medicine. In a hall of this size, you can create millions of plants without using seeds through plant tissue culture technology. And the advent and understanding of human genomics. It was just some 5 or 6 decades ago that Watson and Crick at Cambridge determined the structure of DNA, and it was in 2002, 2003 when Bill Clinton announced the structure of the human genome, the 3 billion base pairs, nucleic acids, molecules which make you what you are and me what I am. And the advent of stem cell research is transforming the frontiers of medicine. And I could go on and on and on. In fact, I've been writing articles, which some of you may have read every Sunday in Dawn, in the images section, which I headed The Wondrous World of Science, to excite people about this fascinating world of knowledge that we live in. So science and technology. And I say science and technology because basic and applied sciences and technology development. It's a ping pong game, one throwing problems to the other. So that is the second major pillar. And you need to have world-class institutions of science and technology in order to move forward. And people often ask me, what is the point of having quality research institutes? Why don't we first focus on basic education and then think of higher education and science and technology 50 years later? Reminds me of a meeting I had with the president of Sri Lanka some years ago, who said that we made a bad mistake some 30 years ago. We developed quality school level education. We have more than 95% literacy, but we have remained a poor country because we didn't realize at that time that you need to invest in higher education, in science and technology, and in developing centers of excellence so that you can benefit from this knowledge-driven world. So you have to take education at all levels. So second pillar is science and technology. The third pillar is innovation and entrepreneurship. A society where innovation and entrepreneurship can be fostered. And this is actually a multifaceted problem, and most of the Islamic countries have done very little in this respect. And there are a number of figures. You can see how many patents are coming out at an international level. From countries like Pakistan, there are a handful, half a dozen at the most, from most of these countries. And so very little. So this is a multifaceted problem which involves incentivization for private sector R&D, establishment of technology parks, access to venture capital, intellectual property rights regimes, and a culture to encourage the private sector, because ultimately the government can only play an enabling role. Ultimately it is the private sector which comes up and has to play this game. And so we have to develop that strength within the private sector through supporting their research and development. So they're not always 20 years, 30 years behind others, but at least in some fields we are leading through research and development, which is focused, very targeted in specialized areas. And so this is another major pillar, innovation and entrepreneurship. And there is an educational component also there, so that universities produced students who are not just job seekers, they are job providers. So the student who comes out from a university should know something about how to write a business plan, how to take a loan.